Why do bad things always happen to the good people? It's tragic. It's just tragic.
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing Mono Black Shadow Scam in the Timeless format, and it's finally time. Grief is here. 4 mana, 3/2 menace. When it enters battlefield, basically to Thoughtseize them, and you can evoke by pitching a black card from your hand. And so the trick that you do is that you scam people with Grief, that you evoke it on turn 1 or an early turn, and then you bring it back into play with like an undying effect. So we're using Malakir Rebirth. That way it comes back into play, and you get to take another card, and you have the creature still ready to rumble. So it's a very, very strong early play. We have the luxury in Timeless of also running Reanimate. So that's like another way we can complete the scam, is just by reanimating it from our graveyard, which also happens to work pretty well with Death Shadow, which wants us to have a low life total so that Death Shadow turns into like a massive threat. So we can like Swamp Cycle a Troll of Khazad-dum, reanimate it to get Death Shadow online pretty early, or reanimate Grief to get our Death Shadow online. Another big piece of that equation are MDFC lands. So previously the only untapped ones we had were like Agadeem's Awakening, but now in Mono Black, MH3 gave us Fell the Profane, which we can also pay 3 life to put into untapped, and Boggart Trawler. And so what we're doing here, the MDFCs provide a lot of utility. So first of all, they're bolt lands to like quickly lower life total for Death Shadow. They also can just be played for their actual costs, and they also increase our black spell density for Grief, giving us a lot of options for our opening hands for pitching stuff. So they work really, really well. I'm really excited about this. This is like maybe one of the most beautiful decks I've ever built. I'm really excited about it. We're also running it's basically all the classics in black. We got Orcish Bowmasters, Thoughtseize, Reanimate, Death Shadow, Dark Ritual, like the works. We have Liliana the Veil. It's all here. We're also running Caustic Bronco as a card advantage engine and as a way to lower our life total with Death Shadow. With so many MDFCs, it will lower it. So you do have to be careful. Sometimes you need to saddle it and send that life loss to the opponent. I'm so excited for this deck. Let's jump into some games. Now this is an awesome hand. We got the turn 1 scam going on, plus Leyline of the Void, turn 0. Let's see if we can shut them down before they get to doing anything. Alright, opponent's going to fetch a forest into a Delighted Halfling. Let's start scamming. So make sure we play a land right now. And pitch cast Grief. We're going to go ahead and get pitch Fell the Profane to it. Now you got to make sure you hold full control to respond to your own stuff. Who knows if they'll change in the future, but currently you need to. So I'm going to let the discard resolve first. And yeah, we just stopped a turn 2 Oko. That would have been really tough to deal with. So Malakir Rebirth is going to bring Grief back and take the other card in their hand. This is just beautiful right here. Alright, take Delighted Halfling. Opponent has a handful of lands. Let's see if they can dig their way out of this. Alright, so they're going to surveil away another Delighted Halfling and tack in. The menace on Grief is just so clutch. Alright, so we're just going to hold up Bowmasters. It seems unlikely they drew like another threat. I mean, maybe they could have. I could see it, maybe some argument for Thoughtseize. Alright, so opponent's going to bring Yorion to hand. We're going to end step Bowmasters. And they did leave up a mana. They didn't attack in with Halfling. Alright, we have another Grief, which we could pitch cast. Decide to bolt in the Fell Mire land in Thoughtseize. Playing around Spell Pierce. That's what was going on right here. Not to mention we need to lower our life for Death Shadow anyway. The opponent has a Lightning Bolt for our Grief, which is pretty unfortunate, but at least we can... But the opponent then has a Solitude pitching Yorion. So all of a sudden, they've sort of scammed their way back to parity and just a land in hand. So life total is about the same, and each of us just have a 1-power creature in play. Now, I think that actually might have been a little too gung-ho from the opponent. Like, we could have only taken either Solitude or Yorion, and I think they would have been in a really great shape with either of those left behind. So I don't think they needed to pitch cast right there, because Yorion would just be wrecking us right now if we took Solitude. So, and same with Solitude. So they could have hard cast either of them. Either way, here we are, and Alright, Dark Ritual is at least going to allow us to put Grief on the battlefield. Cheating 1 mana ahead to get Grief into play, hard cast it. We'll be able to attack very shortly. The opponent has tons of mana, like anything is like a live draw for them. Alright, they have a Deathrite Shaman. Very strong. Caustic Bronco is really clutch because that's going to start getting us some cards finally. So we're going to attack him with Grief. I was wondering if they're going to double block there, but opponent decided not to. Pass it. Opponent passes. Ifnir Deadlands. The opponent's at such a low life total, decide just to go for the Caustic Bronco crew. There was an argument to just attacking with Grief, but I was worried about this exact situation right here. Spiking something way too huge, like this would have put us to 3. The opponent could have Deathrite Shamaned a spell, us down to 1, untap, kill, you know. That was the rationale. You gotta be very careful with Caustic Bronco because we have some very huge hits, but instead we dinged them for 6 and placed Ifnir Deadlands into play. And opponent packs it in. And so if you like seeing Yorion piles get slapped around, please mole worms the like button. Thank you, and we are on to the next one. And we got another turn 1 Grief scam. Love to see it. Now with Death Shadow in hand, we're definitely going to bolt ourselves with Fell Mire and just start lowering the life total, because Malakir Rebirth's going to also lower life total by 2, so we hope to like slam Death Shadow before too long. We're going to pitch the Troll, we don't really need it. Holding full control to make sure we can respond to our own triggers. And let the discard resolve. And we're going to be taking 2 things, you have to remember that if you're scamming. So take Esper Sentinel first round. And I make a mistake right here. What I should have done here is take the Ornithopter and then rely on Thoughtseize to take 1 ring. But I was just, I rushed it too much and made the wrong choice. So I'm going to take 1 ring. But realistically, we could have had it all, because obviously we're going to play Thoughtseize. We could have denied them the 1 ring. So instead we allowed them to get an Ornithopter into play, which could come back to bite us. Alright, Malakir Rebirth. We don't have any way to like, I mean, we could lower life total a little bit right now. Alright, opponent didn't have any things to take. Takenuma, we're stuck at exactly 13, so we can't play Death Shadow yet. Alright, opponent plays a land and passes. I'm just going to spew off a Malakir Rebirth here just to lose the 2 life to get Death Shadow online. It doesn't. I don't think Affinity really runs much interaction. Like, I don't know if they typically run like Shrapnel Blast or something, but it seemed worth it to get Death Shadow online. Alright, opponent plays land. It has a Mire Enforcer, which is very unfortunate because at least they had to tap the Ornithopter to get into play, because we could still attack through with our Menace. But Death Shadow is stuck for the moment. If they do attack us, Death Shadow gets monstrous though, so we do have that going for us. Alright, Troll of Khazad-dum is pretty horrible. Can't attack in right now, they have 2 blockers at the ready. Our opponent's going to pass back to us. We have a little bit of sort of deck thinning action, not to mention it could set it up as a Reanimate target, so we pull Ifnir Deadlands. So there's sort of 2 courses of action to take. We could start chiseling our life total down to grow Death Shadow, or we can crack Ifnir Deadlands to put 2 -1/-1 counters on something. I choose the Ornithopter in this case to put them down to 1 blocker. But the opponent ends up using Otawara to save the Ornithopter. We'll still get to attack, but I actually wonder if they should have instead bounced our Grief, because that would just put us really, or the Death Shadow or something, and like tried to aggro us out. But opponent does save the Ornithopter and find another Mire Enforcer, and Caustic Bronco is amazing right now. It's sort of a weird stalemate because they can't attack us without risking getting the Death Shadow too large, but we can't attack in because they have too many blockers. Caustic Bronco is going to at least get us some cards. Death Shadow is an amazing draw right here. So I actually spend a lot of time thinking about what to do here. Do we saddle Caustic Bronco, or do we just send in? There's pros and cons to each, but basically decide just to send in and hope to spike something to grow. And we do spike something big. So we spike Troll, which grows Death Shadow to an 8/8, and they're going to double block our Grief right here. So Bronco survives, they fall to 6, and we could play a Death Shadow right here That's an 8/8 and pass the turn. Now, like I said, I'm not sure exactly what was correct right there. Like, it is a gamble just going in and hoping the Death Shadow grows big enough. But we have so many MDFCs, and I figured it was going to get there. So opponent's going to attack in and like making sure I'm not missing anything. But we fall to 1. Death Shadows turn to 12/12s. And we have 2 lethal threats, and the opponent packs it in. So that was incredible. This hand is spectacular. What you see right here is a turn 1 Caustic Bronco plus Bowmasters plus Grief Scam. I don't know if the opponent was psychic or something. Anyway, they packed it in before we could do anything. But I just wanted to show you that beautiful hand. Would have used all 7 cards. Anyway, we end up mulliganing that last one. We had some Dark Rituals, but not a lot to do with them. Now this hand right here, we mulligan into another turn 1 Scam. And this is the value of running all these MDFCs, is that we have a lot of fodder for grief. Not to mention they're also extra utility, and they're ways to lower our life total for Death Shadow. Turn 1 Faithless Looting. Would have been nice to have the Bowmasters in play for that, but they look promising. We're going to pitch Liliana the Veil. The opponent wants to discard anyway, and we're quite a ways from casting it. So we're going to grief them, once again holding full control, see if we could take anything juicy. Alright, so they have Faithless Looting, Spell Pierce, Brainstorm, Reanimate. Going to take Reanimate because we'll be putting stuff in our graveyard, and that could be a way they can really get back in this game. We're going to take a second card because they're scamming them right here with Malakir Rebirth. And our life total is falling nicely for Death Shadow. And decide to leave Faithless Looting and take Brainstorm because Faithless Looting is like card disadvantage, and Spell Pierce, like, we don't really have any valid targets for anymore. Not to mention, like, we want to encourage them to play into like Bowmasters and stuff. All right, so they're gonna play Faithless Looting. Pitch. All right, they end up pitching Spell Pierce, or at least a Spell Pierce. We're gonna bolt this land in. We're in Death Shadow territory now, but it seems wise just to hold up Bowmasters. Like, we've already seen Brainstorms and Faithless Lootings from them, so Bowmasters will tear them to shreds. Alright, so they pass. We have 2 of them, so we might as well throw one out there. And let's see what happens. Yeah, the opponent just packs it in. Bowmasters just way too strong against what they were doing. This hand, no grief, but we have a Leyline of the Void on turn 0, which might be useful. Going to bolt this land into play to just start the Death Shadow train. Forced from the opponent. Going to go ahead and cycle Troll of Khazad-dum. Maybe we will draw a Reanimate and we can put it into play. And then, I mean, that would be incredible because then it would enable Death Shadow as well. We're going to play Hive the Eye Tyrant since it's untapped right now. I actually think that might have been a mistake. I think we should have put Deadlands into play to start lowering our death total. Sorry, lowering our life total for Death Shadow. But now we're able to slam Liliana the Veil. Still haven't quite seen what the heck the opponent's doing. We've just seen some forests.
I'm tired of your secrets.
Now discarding the land will not allow us to... Yeah, so I end up deciding pitching Malakir Rebirth since we can just hard cast Grief next turn. The opponent has a massive dinosaur over there. And then it becomes clear what the opponent's doing. So the Dragon Kami Reborn is a saga that lets them... But the first 2 chapters exile something under it, and then it flips into a creature that's like a dragon egg, that when it dies, it lets you like free cast one of those things. So seeing the dinosaur and now their hand, the opponent's trying to cheat giant monsters into play. So we see Hullbreak Horror, Jin Gataxius, another Kami Reborn, and Halpak Piper. So like another, like it's like an Elvish Piper. So the opponent's trying to cheat giant monsters into play. I end up taking the other Dragon Kami Reborn because 2 of them into play would get quite annoying. With our Menaced Greeth right now, we can avoid 1 of them, but if 2 of them are in play, it sets up a lot of double blocks, and then all of a sudden we're potentially letting put like giant crazy things into play. So I think I made a mistake on the previous turn by not dinging myself with Ifnir Deadlands. The auto tapper defaulted to not damaging you. So you have to be mindful of that if you're actively trying to lower your life total for Death Shadow. We could have been 1 lower right now had I been paying attention to that. We're going to Edict away their creature. Just we want to reduce their options and also disallow any double blocking. Alright, so the Dragon Kami Reborn is going to flip. And they're currently just stranded with big monsters in hand. Alright, another Grief. Now, once again, had to ensure the life total loss with Deadlands. So we're going to hard cast a Grief. Take something from them. And a Railway Brawler. So that's a good one to take because that's like a sort of like intermediate threat that they're playing that can get real nasty. So happy to take that one, especially because they could have plotted it next turn. So, all right, finally can play Death Shadows. We'll have to be really ready to attack with them because once again, who knows what the opponent has hiding in exile for the Dragon Kami if it dies. So there's a lot of decisions being made here. I'm continuing to lower my life total. Also not activating Liliana. Wanting to keep... I consider our cards valuable that we have right now. Now we could like insulate our hand against the Liliana Plus with that land, but I also want to get Hive of the Eye Tyrant online as another menace attacker. It's looking like we're getting there though as the opponent falls to 6 and just has a bunch of giant monsters stuck in hand. So yeah, the opponent packs it in. So on to the next one. And another beautiful hand. We've got a turn 0 Leyline and potentially a really early Troll of Khazad-dum, except the opponent has other plans. Now I think I just brutally misplay this whole game right here. So I think I got so careless with my life total in the other matches where it didn't really matter. They like didn't really know what to do here. And so I think I should just maybe bolted it in and just cycled Troll of Khazad-dum. Instead of Thoughtseize for some, like, Thoughtseize is horrible in this matchup. There's no reason to Thoughtseize right now. So that was just an inexplicable extra points of damage right there. So opponent's going to Lightning Helix us. And Swift Spear's going to knock us right down to 9 life. And so, like, we have the Troll plus Reanimate plan, but it's just like, we're going to fall to 3 life to do that. We could have been 2 life points higher. Anyway, this is just a tough matchup in general. Like, the opponent has Swift Spear into, like, Roiling Vortex, so, like, it's gonna be bad. Yeah, the opponent just rips a bolt effect off the top. So, I played that horribly, but that's also a tough matchup if you don't draw your Death Shadows. So, we just move on to the next one. Now, this is another scam hand, though this is gonna be through Reanimating Grief, which can be a really good setup for Death Shadows because it causes you to lose a bunch of life, especially if you have like a Bolt land. So yeah, we're gonna get one of our Bolt lands. Don't have to hold full control right now. And see what we're dealing with. And Show and Tell variant. So we're just checking out their hand. One Multiverse seems like a little bit weaker Omniscience, but it gets you a little bit more redundancy. So yeah, we're going to take Show and Tell. We will get a second bite of the apple right now as we Reanimate Grief. And I'm just going to take the one with the Multiverse and just leave them with the clunky spells. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments, what's your favorite Evoke Elemental? As you could see, I think I really, really like Grief. Though in Commander, I'd probably say Solitude. So we're going to attack in and pass. We have Bowmasters at the ready. Would love to snipe them when they try and brainstorm or something. Instead, we're just gonna play on their end step, just get some more threats into play. Like, they do have a lot of tutors and stuff, so we need to like get the game over. We're gonna send in with everything. So far, nothing. Like, we managed to sort of just completely disable their game plan. Gonna go ahead and Swamp Cycle Troll and play Caustic Bronco, and we'll be faced with the decision of whether to saddle it or just attack with it. Opponent falls to 10 off their fetch. And they're desperately trying to find something. And yeah, they just pack it in, didn't find anything. So, moving on to the next one. And we got another scam hand. I just lucked out. Like, I don't know how I got so many of them, but this is how you get addicted to a deck like this. You draw all the scam hands. Not to mention we have Dark Ritual to possibly just hard cast a Grief next turn. So, I'm going to pitch Agadeem's Awakening. That does, like, possibly prevent us from like dark ritualing out a grief next turn. So let's see what the opponent has. Ragavan One Ring Inquisition. So I make a mistake here. I take Ragavan the first go round. I end up taking the One Ring the second go round. I should have taken Inquisition and just banked on us drawing a second land to dark ritual out a grief before they can slam One Ring. Now One Ring is like threatening. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that they wouldn't cast, like they'd play a Surveil land and not Inquisition, but obviously they're going to Inquisition and take our dark ritual. Then all of a sudden, here we are. So that was very preventable, and we would have drawn the land. I think even without knowing that, we should have gambled on being able to snag the ring later. The fact we had a dark ritual is going to get us most of the way. So that was a misplay on my part, and allowed the opponent to take our dark ritual for no reason. So we have Grief plus Malakir Rebirth, but we don't have an extra pitch card for it. So opponent's going to Bowmaster our life total and double block. Wondering what the opponent has going on. It seems like they should have damaged the Grief and then blocked with just the token to keep Bowmasters alive. Either way, we're just going to rescan them again by using Malakir Rebirth, but opponent just has lands in play. However, as you can see, they have a lot of utility lands. Like they have Hive of the Eye Tyrant and Den of the Bugbear. Oh, and then they draw Kroxa right after we tried to make them discard. So we lose our other Grief. Things are going pretty bad. You could see how that one sort of flawed decision from turn 1 is coming back to bite us. We could have had a second Grief in play, which would have been really nice. Alright, attack the opponent. And they find a Graveyard Trespasser. Oh, that's tough because let's get started getting them some life. And we don't even have a spell to cast right now, so it's going to flip. So I would hold back to block it, but they're going to flip guaranteed and outsize our Grief. Then now all of a sudden, their creature lands are online. And you could see how much nicer it would have been if that Grief was actually in play. We might have been able to get there, but instead the tables are turning quickly. So we draw a dark ritual, like that can allow us to activate Hive. But realistically, like we're already dead here. Like I'm hanging in, trying to like get there, but like Den is gonna make another attacker. Like we won't be able to actually trade with the Trespasser. We have to chump it. Like we're gonna fall to yeah. So that one was the one that got away. That was tough. But we move on to the next one. We just gotta shake it off and move on. Turn 0 Leyline. That's another thing is like I'm running these Leylines because we can pitch them to Grief and to Liliana. They're sort of low cost for us, but they are like a lot of times dead draws. Really strong show and tell hand. Going to take Atraxa. We maybe should have just taken both show and tells, but the opponent does have the card that lets them like tutor. So I spend a long time deciding right here, and ultimately I think make the wrong decision because I think I'm looking too far ahead. What I should do is just fire up Thoughtseize and take the green-black spell. Instead of like planning like how to like best leverage Phyrexian Tower or draw more cards, because the opponent draws a green source and is able to dark ritual into assemble the team. And if I had just taken that, it might have bought us so much time we could have had like been able to do stuff at our leisure. So instead they get a show and tell, and of course manage to grab an Omniscience off the assemble the team. So this is a painful one because, like I said, I think I overanalyzed it too much. I was thinking way in the future when we needed to actually survive to that future. And I think, despite it not being mana efficient, we needed to fire off that Thoughtseize. And the opponent is not even firing off any Lorien Reveals. They just have pure dig through times to like, and they get approach in there and then fire off another dig through time to immediately draw it. So yeah, so we pack it in. That was a tough one, but in this new landscape where we have these evoke elementals, so much of the decisions are compressed into the first 1 or 2 turns of the game. Like the mulligan's way more important now in turn 1 decisions. So I failed a bit on that front. But yeah, we're going to turn 1 Caustic Bronco plus Orcish Bowmasters and cycle Troll of Khazad-dum for good measure. I do wonder if I should put like 1 Surveil land in here, because we do have like the Swamp Cyclers, but we have such a low curve that like a tap land is like pretty tough. So I'm uncertain about that. Arboreal Grazer with Bajuka Bog. Oh my goodness. Well, that's annoying because we could have possibly reanimated that troll down the line. Gonna send it with Caustic Bronco, and of course, there's the Reanimate. Would have been nice to have a 6/5 Turbo Menace in play, but have to live with what we have, and just sort of an awkward hand right now with Dark Ritual, Death Shadow, Reanimate. Kami of Bamboo Groves. There's Field of the Dead. There's land number 4. It's getting a little dangerous. Alright, Agadeem's Awakening. Trying to desperately lower my life total with Caustic Bronco, but it's not working despite my best efforts. Alright, attacking in this manner, hoping they blocked in this way, because this is going to allow us to reanimate Orcish Bowmasters, which does 2 things. It's going to lower their life total, lower our life total a bit, and finish off our Arboreal Grazer to stop them from using like a natural order to get a Titan into play. So that ended up working pretty well. I'm going to put the tap land into play, and hoping to lower our life total with Agadeem's Awakening. Alright, Fierce Empath is going to find a Titan for them. Let's see if they have land 5. They do have land 5, so they're almost at Titans. And there's the Thoughtseize. Might have been nice to Thoughtseize and reanimate a Prime Time. Opponent has a good hand. They have another Fierce Empath plus a Once Upon a Time. So we're going to take the Titan, and once again, it's the decision to saddle Bronco or just send in with it, because the argument for just sending in is that we have a Death Shadow in hand. Alright, we hit Fell the Profane, which then allows us to cast Death Shadow. Alright, so opponent's going to block the Bowmasters. They fall to 10. So I'm definitely going to bolt in the Agadeem's Awakening to charge up the Death Shadow. And the awesome thing right now is that even if the opponent does somehow find a Titan off this Once Upon a Time, we can kill it with Fell the Profane. Though we would have to deal with the Field of the Dead zombies, so we're just hoping they whiff right here. They do grab a Blast Zone, which is really strong. Alright, but they end up playing Fierce Empath. I think they should have gone for the Blast Zone plan, because they could have killed the Death Shadow. Anyway, the opponent packs it in. I love this deck so much. We get to play all of Black's greatest hits. We get to scam people. It's just super good, clean living. It really does feel like greatness at any cost embodied. Like we're paying tons of life, we're pitching tons of cards just to like get that advantage and hold that advantage. There's definitely some, I don't think it's like quite solved. Like you can tweak the amount of like MDFCs in here a bit, maybe try and get the 4th Liliana in there, because that's just so good off a Dark Ritual as well. But yeah, like this is just a super fun strategy. I'm excited to see how things evolve. I am not certain about including Leyline of the Void. Like it is sort of a dead draw. Like we can pitch extras to Grief and like to Liliana and stuff like that, but it basically depends on how rampant scam strategies are. Like, are people trying to get Furies everywhere or Solitudes and scam them? Like it may be useful to have this if that is what the landscape becomes. So it really depends on how things develop. But yeah, we'll have to see about that. But it's just a really fun strategy I'd recommend trying out. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.